大家好，这是BeiMeiLiuMang，今天是2021年的5月20号，今天是个星期四。那我们来看一下这个人怎么看鲍威尔。这个人是叫 David Rubenstein， 他是一个身价上亿的美国商人，同时以前也从过政，也在白宫工作过。那看看他怎么说鲍威尔的一些政策，同时还有他对比特币的一些看法。
For more on the markets, the latest messaging from the Fed and the economy, let's bring in David Rubenstein. Of course, he's the Carlyle Group co-founder and the co-executive chairman. And David, you expert on the markets. You're an expert on the ways of Washington, and that makes you pretty much the perfect guest right now because those two worlds are colliding in a big way. And much of that lands on what the Fed is going to do, what they've been messaging, what they've been saying, what you think they'll do next. I watched a great interview you did with Jay Powell, and I didn't realize until that interview that you had hired him way back when. I just wonder what you think he's thinking as he looks at the markets, as he looks at what's happening all the way around.
Jay Powell is a very steady person. He's not somebody that jumps to the markets up and down every hour by the hour. When he was at Carlyle, he was very steady, a very good investment professional, and I think he's made it clear he's not changing on the dime. So what he said is that it's going to take something more significant than what we've seen to date before the Fed is, I think, going to change its interest rate policy or increase the discount rate. So I think he's made it pretty clear that while they're looking at inflation that's rising a little bit, probably not until the end of this year will you see any real policy change of significance.
那主持人问他说：“你怎么看这个鲍威尔？”他说：“鲍威尔是一个很稳定的一个人啊，他不会说是因为市场的一些动静，他就要去随便改政策啊。同时，他要看这个经济数据，也是他不会去看人家的预测，要真正看到经济数据出来。同时，咱们现在所看到的经济数据还不够撼动它啊，我们需要看到更多的数据，来证实咱们现在的经济是出现了过热的问题。”那他说，一直到今年年底，美联储政策都应该不会有任何的变化，而且他也认为我们不会很快的看到美联储升息。
And I think that's what the market really wants. Well, I think the market would like to have. That's what the market wants, but the market would like predictability. What business people really want more than anything else is tell us what the rules are, tell us what the way we're going to have to operate is, and we'll deal with it. And I think right now the market is, I think, always nervous. Markets are always jumpy. But I think the Fed is basically trying to be a bulwark and say, look, we're not going to move every hour on the hour based on trading one day or another. So I think he's unlikely to make major changes in the near future, in my view. I know that their comments on April were now public now, but I don't think that the Fed is likely to all of a sudden say, you know what, we got nervous and we're going to increase interest rates. I don't see that happening anytime soon based on what I know about the way the Fed operates.
So the Fed's making that decision based on what it kind of sees in the economy, also based on what it knows the markets are looking to hear. But at Carlyle, you also have so many companies, and you see the inflation that's kind of running through the economy right now in terms of the inputs, in terms of wages, in terms of commodities. Right. What do you think as the head of so many businesses and somebody who really sees these numbers? Is the Fed right to be complacent?
I wouldn't say they're complacent. I think they're very careful, but I don't think they're jumping around. But let me put it in context. When I worked in the White House a long time ago under President Carter, we had double-digit inflation. And double-digit inflation is terrible to live through. We're not talking about anything close to that. We've averaged under 2% for the last 25 years. If we could get above 2% on a consistent basis, the Fed would be actually not disappointed. When we went to college, the average textbooks used to say that 3 or 4% inflation was actually pretty standard and okay. So we're really only talking about inflation that might go above the 2% we've had for some time. And I think if it went above 2% for a while, the Fed would be okay. If it got to 4, 5, 6, and 7%, that's a different story. But I don't think anybody's predicting that. So I don't really think inflation is a big concern now. Certainly not anything compared to what we've had in the past.
那主持人问他说：“你看，你是一个商人，你下面有很多的公司，你应该也能看到你公司里面这个通胀的问题，对吧？不光是从你这个消费来看，还有就是你现在招工人，你的这个小时工薪也得提高，因为你招不到工人，这些都是通胀的表现。”那主持人问他说：“你觉得美联储这么自满是不是对的？”那这个人说：“他觉得美联储不是自满，美联储是非常的小心啊。”那他曾经在白宫工作的时候，这个美国总统是这个 Jimmy Carter 啊，他当时在那个时候是美国的通胀每一年达到2位数 他说那个时候是很可怕的啊，每年达到2位数但是我们现在这个情况和当时完全不一样，一点都不接近。美国最近25年的时候，平均通胀为2%，所以他认为咱们现在如果美国经济一段时间内超过2%，肯定是没问题的。但是如果是一段时间内超过4%以上，就有问题了啊。那我们也看到上一个这个CPI 通胀率是4%多啊，4%点多。但是未来几个月要是5%、6%、4%、6%、6%，这样的话，美联储肯定它会动的，它肯定会改变政策的啊。但是现在它没法说，咱们只看到了一个特别热的一个报告，还要往后看。那他说他在上大学的时候，教科书上说啊，美国如果每年能达到3%到4%的通胀率，这都是标准的啊。所以他觉得咱们现在美国目前所看到的这个通胀不是问题尤其是和他以前来比的话。
Here's the argument, though. When you talk to people who do raise concerns about this, they say if the Fed waits until it sees the whites of inflation's eyes, that it'll be too late, that things will already have kind of ricocheted at that point. The flywheel will be moving, and it will be quite a bit tougher and more painful to stop it. What do you say back to that?
Well, we're still in a fragile economy. Remember, we're still in a pandemic, and a large part of the population is not employed fully. And therefore, I think if the Fed were to do something now, and I think the Fed recognizes this, it's likely to increase unemployment to an unacceptable level. I think the Fed is weighing many different things, not just the bond markets. It's weighing the impact on the unemployment rate. And I think if the Fed were to all of a sudden increase interest rates in some precipitous way, I think it would be seen as not good for the economy. We should get out of the pandemic and go back to a more normal economy before the Fed can really make a real judgment, in my view. And I think that's probably how they're looking at it. Again, everybody who's a day trader would like to have things move quickly because that's the way they respond to things. But the Fed tends to take a longer-term position. I also think that we're talking about inflation, if it happens, that is maybe slightly above the Fed's target of 2%. And we haven't really had that on a consistent basis. 2% or 2.5% inflation is not going to ruin the economy as much as people might predict right now.
那主持人问他说，有人说如果等美国已经有通胀来了之后，你再开始去有动作的话，这就晚了，你怎么看？那他说你不要忘了，现在美国经济还是非常的脆弱的，咱们还没有脱离这个疫情的大环境，所以美国还有很多的人没有工作所以如果你现在就直接就升息的话，或者直接就紧缩的话会不会导致那些更多的人没有工作这是一个风险。所以他觉得美国应该先完全把这个疫情搞定，结束这个疫情之后再去来做这个政策上的改变。那他说美联储又不是这个短线交易又不是这个交易，那当然这些做短线交易的人，他们希望看到市场快速的动他们能赚钱嘛，对吧？像比如说升息，我们说金融板块会做得好，那他们就下赌注金融，你赶紧升息，我这样金融赚一波但问题是美联储不是短线交易者美联储要往远处看。
David, I know you're a long-term investor and not somebody who looks at many of these day-to-day moves, but yesterday was pretty weird, especially when you looked at cryptocurrency, a decline of 46% for Ethereum. I mean, you feel moves like that and you wonder how much froth has built up in the markets. You wonder how much momentum has been driving things. And what would you take away? Even as a long-term investor, you have to pay attention to some of these moves.
Well, remember, crypto has come from nowhere to be a force in the market. It's, in effect, a gold substitute for some. And I have invested in not cryptocurrencies myself, but in things that I would say facilitate the trading of it in various companies that are helping to trade or make it easier for people to be involved with cryptocurrency. And I did that in part because I think it's here to stay. Cryptocurrency is not going away, just like gold is not going away. So, yes, it had its ups and downs, and yesterday was not a good day for it. But that's true of anything that is relatively new. And I don't think you're going to see anything like crypto going away and disappearing. It's here. And it's here because people in the market want something other than just the traditional currencies that we've had. And whether that's right or wrong, it's clearly something that the market wants. So, yes, if you go into cryptocurrencies, you should expect big ups and downs and big fluctuations. And if you're not prepared for that, don't go into cryptocurrency. But the idea that cryptocurrency is going to go away or that the government is going to be able to stop cryptocurrency from being something investors want, I think is unrealistic at this point.
Well, even if you're looking at some of those trading apparatuses for it, Coinbase, I think, is down 40% from its initial public offering at the middle of last month. I mean, that's pretty volatile, too. I'm not sure if Coinbase is the one that you were investing in that you were talking about, but that volatility plays out all the way across.
Yes, of course, the markets are volatile in that area, but Coinbase's market cap is still relatively very, very high for a company that's relatively young. So I don't think a lot of people are worried that Coinbase is going to be in trouble in any significant way. The market fluctuates a bit on things like that, and Coinbase reflects that. But I wouldn't worry about it as much as I think some people who are day traders are worrying about it. I do think it's a good company. It's likely to be around for quite some time, and it does provide a service. So again, if you think cryptocurrencies are inappropriate or not something that's consistent with the way we operate our economy, then don't invest in it. But I do think it's a good substitute for some people to have some different type of investment other than the traditional investments. And I think it's going to be here for a while. And many people increasingly are looking at investing in this for some percentage of their portfolio.
Is Coinbase the one you invested in, or did you invest in different ones?
No, I made an investment in a privately held company.
不好意思啊，我这边等他3个问题都问了，我才在这儿跟你说。因为他这3个问题也都是和这个加密货币有关的。主持人刚开始问他说你怎么看这个加密货币昨天的这个表现啊？这现在是自由落体，跌得太凶了。那这个人说他觉得加密货币现在还很年轻，那对于一些人来说，加密货币就是他们的黄金。那他说他自己也有投资加密货币相关的公司是做加密货币交易的。那后来主持人问他说是不是 Coinbase 啊？不过他觉得这个加密货币永远都不会消失，因为总会有需求啊，就像黄金一样，加密货币不会消失，总有人想要去用加密货币或者这种去中心化的货币来替换咱们现在普通用的货币，就比如说美国货币、加拿大货币、人民币就等等政府货币。同时他认为政府未来会去封杀比特币的或者加密货币的可能性是几乎没有的，是不真实的。主持人问他说你怎么看这个 Coinbase 现在的价格自从上市以后走得这么差你看一下这个图，现在这屏幕上这个图就是 Coinbase 自从上市以来的这个表现很痛苦。他说 Coinbase 这个估值现在偏高而且它是个很年轻的一个公司，但他觉得 Coinbase 是个很好的公司，他认为 Coinbase 会一直存活下来，存活很久。他说如果你作为一个投资者，你觉得加密货币与你心目中的这个经济操作的模式不一样的话，你就不要投资加密货币。但是对于一些人来说，这个加密货币是一个很好的替代传统投资的一个替代品。那主人问他说你有没有投资 Coinbase？ 他说没有，他投资了一个私人公司这种有钱人他们可以投资没上市的公司，好吧？对于咱们散户来说，上市才能买。人家有钱人说你上市不上市，你是个公司我都能买，这是机构的力量，好吧？那他说的这个其实我蛮同意的，因为就是比特币这种东西 cryptocurrency 不会消失，肯定不会消失。一个简单的例子，你记得前几天美国的这个输油管道 Colonial Pipeline 不是说被俄罗斯的黑客黑掉了，然后把它里面的这个系统作为人质要500万美元等值的加密货币，他为什么不要500万美元对吧？人家要等值的加密货币，就是因为加密货币其实最起码在地下在这些非法的这些市场里面，还是最起码有一个地位的肯定还是有非常大的作用的。几年前我在一个加拿大网络公司上过班曾经它里面就是有很多的顾客会说他们家的私人电脑什么的被黑客黑了，劫为人质，就打不开电脑，然后就是说给他要价值200块钱的比特币啥的。当时我第一次听说就是可以劫持这些文件当人质，要钱吗？解锁。后来我就问，难道不能报警吗？对不对？加拿大有这个加拿大的这个网络警察，美国有 FBI 各种网络警察，弄不了吗？答案就是弄不了。要是能弄的话，这个 Colonial Pipeline 这个被劫持的这个输油管道也不会花500万。所以现在黑客也非常的猛所以还是说就光这些犯罪活动就不会说让加密货币消失。但他说政府不会，他觉得不会去封杀比特币，他没有说不能。我觉得政府去封杀比特币肯定是能的 肯定是能的。那我觉得在美国或者这种发达国家去说是完全封杀这个东西，肯定会产生很多的动荡啊，人民肯定不愿意。所以，但是还是很有可能会出现一些监管的制度啊，这种东西需要监管。其实你去问 Coinbase 的 CEO， 人家会说，哎，会不会害怕以后这个美国这个证监局给你出一个加密货币监管的政策，然后让你的这个加密货币承压？他们说不认为，他们认为如果比特币真能得到一个监管政策，那比特币还会涨，因为就像股市一样啊，咱们这些投资者最害怕不确定性啊，你要么就跟我说，我给你画个圈，你在这个圈里走，别出来，我就保你不死。就假如说是一头猪啊，养了一头猪，但是你又啥也不说，这个你旁边这个养你这个人还是个屠夫，你就会感觉怎么办？会不会哪天被宰了？懂我意思吧？就是你如果给你一个规矩，反而觉得他不会弄你，只要你维护这个规矩，就这个意思。反正在发展中国家我觉得想封杀你还是会的啊，还是会的。但是我同意这个东西不会消失，所以我觉得它这个属性是可以和黄金一样，可以。但是问题就是人们想要拿这个来替代传统货币。而且你不要忘了，现在比特币涨得这么高，也是因为大家认为比特币很有可能未来替代传统货币，或者挑战到传统货币，所以很多的这种期待被 price in 了啊，被已经包括在现在这么高的股价里面这么高的比特币价格里面了。那所以这是为什么昨天中国政府说不允许银行做任何的比特币交易什么的，然后它就会急速下跌。因为现在很多这个比特币目前这个泡沫价格里面的这个价钱是伴随的就是这个期待啊，你得能挑战到传统货币啊。那如果你以后挑战不了传统货币，你就也许现在不值这么多钱。好吧，这期视频就这样，这是BeiMeiLiuMang，感谢你的收看，我们下次见，拜拜。